Welcome to another episode of the King Christian and Queen Linda podcast. Today, we're going to talk about why avoiding these tests could cost you, that's right, you the listener, your life.
Yes, very, very serious topic.
So we are going to go into first the beautiful, wonderful, so sought after colonoscopy.
Yes.
And we're going to tell you why you need to get one and what is involved.
The land down under. Yes, colonoscopy. So I had one last year. I think it's been about a year since I had my first one. And it was definitely not a bad experience. And I think what I'll do quickly is just tell you what my experience was, and then we can talk about some of the things behind it and what makes it up. But you have to prepare, as everybody knows. The day before, you have to drink a lot of liquids, take a lot of laxatives, and then just really clean your system out. And that's really what happens. You just have to stay home and drink, and clear yourself out. And then when you head over to the hospital the next day to have your colonoscopy, it was really great. Actually, then the nurses, everybody treats you really nicely, and you slip into a gown and they go over a few things with you and tell you what the procedure is going to be. And it's not scary at all. I wasn't even really concerned about the process. Even the day before the prep, a lot of people will say, I don't want to do a colonoscopy because I just don't want to go through the prep. I hear that. I'm sure you've heard that too, Christian, from your clients.
Oh, yes.
And, but it's not a big deal. It's just one of those things you just have to sort of suck up and get it done. But when you get on the table in the room, in the procedure room, the doctor shows you the camera has a scope on it. It has little blades on it that'll pop out. So if you have polyps, which we'll go over, they'll remove them right there and then clean you out, make sure everything looks healthy. It's very quick. Literally, you lie down on the table. They talk to you. You count backwards. I think I got to 9 when they said count back from 10, and it's a great sleep. It was really nice. Everybody's really nice to you. It's almost like being at the spa, except they don't do that at the spa.
They give you a butt massage.
But you just sort of lie down and you go to sleep, and then you wake up and the doctor tells you that he's done and explains if he found anything or how everything looked, and then they put you back in a room where you can recover a little bit because you're a little groggy. But it was nice because the nurse asked me if I wanted anything, and she brought me cookies and some juice, and she brought me a warm blanket.
Well, that was after you stopped bleeding and crying, right?
Exactly.
No, we're just kidding.
But you know what? It was not a bad process, and it was great. I had some polyps removed, and I have to go and have another one. I think it's 5 years. It's either 3 to 5 years. If you don't have any issues, no polyps, everything's healthy, I think it's 10 years you can go back. But it's so worth it. And I have two parents. They're both, one's late 70s. My dad just turned 80, and neither one of them have ever had a colonoscopy because they just refused to do it. But as we're going to discuss here today, we can't be afraid of screenings, no matter how uncomfortable or gross or whatever we think they are, because I would never want to go to the doctor and have him say, you have stage 4 colon cancer, and you never had a colonoscopy, and we could have caught it a long time ago, and you'd be healthy and living. I just, I don't think anybody ever wants to hear that. So I think it's worth sucking up, pooping for a day, for lack of a better word, to save your life, pretty much.
Exactly. And the reality is the test is not that extreme. You know what? Any of you right now who are listening, who know you need to get one, not should, need to get one, and you're avoiding it because of drinking some fluid.
Right.
Come
yep.
on,
People
man.
do it. I hear it a lot.
It's basically like crap tasting Gatorade. You don't eat for,
right.
God forbid you don't eat for 24 hours.
It's actually a good cleanse. If you want to drop a few pounds, it's a great way to do it. I know.
And the reality is it's actually good for your digestion,
yes.
giving your digestive tract a break for a day.
And it really cleans you out.
Come on, it's not as bad as everyone says it is, right? But the important thing is that colonoscopy is used to check for abnormalities in your large intestine, your colon, right?
Exactly.
And they look for polyps, like Linda mentioned, and can eliminate them immediately when found. And that's an important thing, is that polyps in a large number of cases are benign.
Yes.
Right? So they find them, they remove them right there, and they tell you about them. They tell you what the general health of your colon is. So they can tell you, you're a little bit inflamed. It looks like you're having some issues. If you have IBS, IBD,
right.
anything like that, they can look and see. And let's say you've had a series of digestive issues. You might be bloated pretty often. You may not be able to handle certain foods that maybe you could eat years ago.
Right.
This is a way to get an answer, right? Sometimes we all assume, well, maybe it's nightshades. Well, maybe it's a FODMAP. Maybe it's I just need to do paleo. Well, there's no escaping the fact that you get a direct answer when they can look at what's going on.
Exactly.
That's if, of course, you had an issue. Now, frequency. Now, Linda did mention a good, she made a good mention as far as every 10 years. Now, in general, it's every 10 years. If you are between 50 to 75 years old and you're at average risk of colon cancer. Now, you are considered at greater risk if you've had the polyps removed.
And you have a family history.
Correct. Previously. Or if you have a family history of colorectal cancer, or if you have inflammatory bowel disease. Now, that's why I mentioned that a minute ago. If you have chronic bloating, right? And this could have been from bad eating choices over the years. Let's say you're lactose intolerant and you've been eating cheese, you've been eating pizza and ice cream, and I'm always bloated, but I take, what are those pills, Lactate or whatever it is?
You can take Lactate, yep.
Yeah.
or a food enzyme like a Beano or something.
Yeah. But yet, you've been eating these foods and they're not doing so well with you. You can end up giving yourself a disease. Chronic inflammation leads to disease. Understand that. So this is a great way to make sure you haven't screwed yourself up because, we've all eaten foods that we probably shouldn't have for maybe longer than we should have. And rectal cancer and colon cancer is becoming more common.
It's very common. It's actually, I think it might even, we'd have to check the stat on this, Christian, but I think it might even be second to heart disease, which is number 1. And I think colon cancer or colorectal cancer could be number 2. Or it's getting pretty close to being number 1.
It's definitely very high on the list. And
yeah, absolutely.
Part of it is because of all these low quality foods that are made these days and that a lot of people are consuming. So, again, you consume things with food dyes, with artificial sweeteners, artificial flavorings, preservatives, stabilizers, all these things, right? You look at the back of a bag of Cheetos, and you can't pronounce half the ingredients.
And all the colors that are in it.
And I've been eating these for 15 years. Well, what do you think's going on in your gut, right? Oh, yeah, I should be healthy. I run every day. Well, that's great, but I'm going to use one of my favorite analogies. If you put crappy fuel in a Ferrari, it's not going to run right, all right? It's going to break down, then you have to go get it fixed. The difference with your body is it's not a car. Okay, this is biology. This can end up with life-ending disease.
Well, and what was interesting, too, for me, I was surprised because I thought he was going to say, oh, baby, you're clean as a whistle. Because with the amount of fiber I take in and the clean eating and, I don't drink, I don't eat processed foods. Sugar is very nil in my diet other than fruit. But, I had polyps. I had some polyps removed. They were all benign. It was, just typical normal tissue. But I was really surprised that he told me he had removed like 5 or 6 polyps. And he said, we'll probably redo another one in 3 to 5 years. But your intestines look healthy. Everything's healthy. And my brother had one a few years ago, and he had some polyps removed. But a lot of the times it can be family history, too. So polyps can be genetic, but then again, neither one of my parents have ever had a colonoscopy, so I don't know my family history. No one in my family has ever died of colon cancer, like grandparents or aunts, uncles, things like that. But I don't know if polyps are genetic because my parents never had one. So it's but it's definitely something you have to do. There's no way I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't go and have a colonoscopy, just given the fact that colon cancer is on the rise in our country.
Exactly. It's a great point. And remember, just because you eat healthy, it's not a guarantee that you won't develop disease.
Right.
Another car analogy is just because you're a great driver doesn't mean you're not going to get into a car accident. Things happen. And Linda's father's extremely healthy. Actually, one day we'll probably have him on this podcast to talk to you guys about being 80 and super healthy, but he's never had an image into his intestines. And of course, this is a terrible thing to think about, but he could go to the doctor one day and get a message that you got 5 years left to live, man.
Right.
And if you just come to us sooner, we could have helped you out, but unfortunately.
It's a fast-moving cancer, too, because I know people that have been diagnosed with it, like stage 4, and then it's like months.
It is.
Month, they're gone.
It's a very active part of our body. The gut is everything. That's part of the reason why cancers advance so fast. There's a lot that goes on there and a lot that affects it. And again, if you have someone who's eating crap food, a lot of sugar their whole life, which is one of the main culprits, and I mean, sedentary obviously doesn't help being sedentary doesn't help anything. But if you have someone who's eating garbage foods and also high stress is a huge part of digestive health or lack thereof. So make sure you get this test. If you're listening right now and you're saying to yourself, because I guarantee you,
I know there's people out there going, I know I need to do it.
If you're listening right now and you're saying this to yourself, you know what, I really should just do it tomorrow. Write the note down in your phone or on your pad or wherever on the fridge.
And
make the freaking call tomorrow. You could save your own life.
And there is one quick little footnote before we move on here is there is a way, I think it's called like colon guard. You guys have probably all seen the commercial. It's a little guy that walks around. He's a little square box and he follows this woman around when she gets out of the pool. And they talk about how she's never had a colonoscopy. But it is something that you can do. I don't know if you take your own stool sample and you put it on a card or something and you send it in. They can scan or do they can tell from that. They can give you a pretty good result back to let you know what's going on. The only issue is that if you have polyps and they need to be removed, that's the only difference. But I think it's a step in the right direction if you're really concerned about having a colonoscopy.
Yeah, stool sample analysis is one method, but again, it is not as good.
Right.
It's just, eating healthy once in a while is technically good for health, but eating healthy all the time is better. So just take the route, suck it up, so to speak, and get the damn test.
Yes.
All right, so next, we're going to go on to prostate exams. So I'm going to speak to my men out there.
Yes.
This one is very important for us to get, okay? So prostate cancer is fairly common in men, especially men over 50. Prostate hyperplasia, or just the growth of the prostate inflammation, is a common thing, and it's part of just many men's lives. And when caught early enough, it's easy to solve. You wait way too long, and it's not very fast moving either. So the prostate, in case you didn't know, helps make semen, right? Now, common problems associated with the prostate are bacterial infection, okay, dribbling after urination. So these are things that you should think about. If you notice that when you pee, you go to stop and a little more comes out. And a little more comes out. You have that wet spot in your underwear. Again, this might sound embarrassing to some of you guys, but if you're listening by yourself, whatever. Right. Again, this stuff could save your life.
That's important to know.
Exactly. Bladder outlet obstruction with urine retention. So when the prostate enlarges, it can block off the urethra. So when you go to pee, it comes out in like a dribble, or it doesn't feel like you can just do it like you did when you were 20. That could be a sign of an inflamed prostate, and you should get that checked out. Now, you could also have an increased need to pee. Again, the prostate enlarges and it presses on the kidneys and your renal system. It can cause you to pee more frequently, especially at night. You might get up fairly often. That is not normal, especially if you're not drinking a ton of water.
Is there any pain associated with that? So if you're going to the bathroom and a little more comes out, is there pain there? Like when a woman gets a bladder infection, it's painful when you pee.
So there can be some pain with certain, with a bacterial infection. In general, inflammation of the prostate or prostate hyperplasia doesn't produce pain. That's why these are important to get looked at.
Okay.
Because you can have this for years and years and you don't know. My dad had prostate cancer and he had his prostate removed. And he didn't know. He just went in and his PSA levels, and we'll talk about those in a second. His PSA levels in his blood panel were high. And they did a test, they did imaging, and they determined that it was cancer. Now, he caught it early enough, so he had no problems at all. He got it removed, was out for the count for a couple of weeks, but he healed up and he was back to normal in no time. But because he went to the doctor and got it looked at.
Yep, smart.
So again, prostate hyperplasia, benign prostate hyperplasia is non-cancerous prostate inflammation. Again, very common. The majority of men will end up with this, but it's not always cancer. But in order to know it's not, you have to get it looked at. Now, generally, men over 50 should get a prostate exam. Now, this becomes even more important if you've had what's called a first-degree relative who was diagnosed at an age younger than 65 with prostate cancer, and that's your dad, your brother, your son, someone who's directly related to you. And to give you an idea for age ranges in relation to the urgency of testing, in general, men of 50 years who are at an average risk should get tested. And if you are of African-American descent, a male, and you've had a first-degree relative, again, father, son, brother, who was diagnosed before 65, then you're considered high risk, and you should get tested at age 45. So, again, it's something where if you have someone in your family, just get the damn test done. If you're over 45 now, and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Again, pick up the phone tomorrow and just get the call. Like Linda said before, you don't want to go years later. Oh, I finally decide to go. And they say, and they come in, they close the door, they give you the talk, where unfortunately we found cancer and you only have 6 years to live, hopefully, if things go the way we hope.
No one wants to ever hear those words, especially if it's something that you can prevent by just getting a quick check.
Exactly. And I will say the prostate exam, it is somewhat invasive, all right? And the reality is, the amount of discomfort you'll feel for a couple minutes versus having 10, 15, 20 more years on your life and no issues, right? They do they palpate it, so the doctor will go into your rectum with his hand and he'll feel the prostate for any abnormalities. They'll also do a blood test and look for PSA. Now, we're going to talk about that right now. So that's the prostate-specific antigen, right? And again, when it's in your blood test, if you have one, let's say you've gotten one in the past, this is actually something good to look at. If you've had a blood test, again, and you're 45 or 50, somewhere around that age, you can look back at your blood test and just see where your numbers are. And if you have a PSA level of less than 2.5 nanograms per milliliter, or NG/ml, you are recommended to be screened every other year. But if you are a man with a PSA of 2.5 nanograms per milliliter or greater, you should get screened every single year. So if your PSA numbers are up, that means you're at higher risk. It's good to get a screen every year. Now, sometimes they'll do a sonogram. Again, just like with the colonoscopy, sure, you can send your poop out and have it looked at, but having them go in there is just the guaranteed way to tell you if something's going on. And they can take care of the polyps. The same thing with the prostate exam. Let them go up there, swallow your pride, and just, again, potentially save your own life.
Now, can you do anything like dietary to get your PSA number lower, or it's just... I mean, can you do, if you go in and they tell you it's higher, like if they say you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, they're going to tell you change your eating, change your this, change your that. Is there anything that you can do if your number is greater than 2.5?
Yes. So in general, as we all know, eating healthy, exercising always helps.
Everything.
Right? It helps to stave off cancer, having a lower sugar diet, because cancer cells often proliferate off of sugar, especially processed. There has been some studies out there with a supplement called ursolic acid. Now, your ursolic acid is found in apple skins, right? They also do have supplements out there. Now, I'm not telling you as soon as you're done listening to this podcast to run out there and buy all the ursolic acid you can.
Well, just don't peel your apples either. Never let my kids, they always ate the apple skin.
Exactly. But ursolic acid has been shown in some cases to help with lowering your chance of prostate cancer. But again, it is not a magic bullet. I'm not telling you that I could just take ursolic acid and I don't have to go get checked. No. Again, the research is very, very slim. In fact, there might even be no correlation. So, healthy lifestyle, making sure that you eat healthy, exercise, water. And what's also interesting is that a lot of people ask about sexual activity. So, sex and ejaculation is generally good for the reproductive system, but they have shown that acutely after sex, sometimes your PSA levels do go up, but they haven't said that that's a bad thing. So again, I'm sharing with you right now that there's different research out there. There's different doctors saying different things. So in general, having, being sexually active with your partner is a good thing, but nothing comes above getting it checked at the right time. And even if you're 45 right now, I can wait 5 more years. Just get it checked now. if anything, get it over with, right? You get it done now. You don't have to worry about it later.
Well, it sounds like it's pretty quick, right? The doctor just
It's extremely
rubber
fast.
glove on, up. I mean, everybody makes jokes about it, right? I mean, it's,
It probably takes no more than 2 minutes.
Snap the glove.
Exactly. And don't worry, he's not going elbows deep inside you. It's just a finger, right? And again, a few minutes can save you a lot of pain.
I have another question.
Yes.
So I remember being in grad school getting my nutrition degree, and we talked about PSA levels and different things. So I remember the professor telling us, he's a doctor, that taking zinc, he said every man should take a zinc supplement because it acts as an antimicrobial for your prostate and helps keep it healthy.
Your reproductive system.
So
yeah.
how is that true? Like, should every man? Would you say everybody should take a zinc supplement?
So I don't necessarily think you should take a zinc supplement. I think you should get enough zinc, whatever that means. Now you can get it in your food, for example, mushrooms. It's various foods. I actually have an article on my website, relentlessfitnessandnutrition.com, the top 8 best foods for men, and I go into sexual health in there and disease prevention. So again, relentlessfitnessandnutrition.com, the top 8 best foods for men article I wrote recently. Go check it out, and I'd love your feedback on it. But I would say, again, a blood test can tell you if you're low in zinc. You can either eat more zinc-containing foods, which I always recommend, and the reason why you shouldn't just go to a pill is that if you eat more zinc-containing foods, chances are you're going to be getting more vegetables or red meat, right? And those are full of micronutrients, and if it's plant life, it's phytonutrients, and that means you're eating a wider variety of food. It's better for your gut, better for everything, right? So rather you eat the foods with the nutrients you want than just pop a pill, because the pill doesn't have any nutritional value. There's no cofactors. There's no good enzymes in there. It's just a cellulose capsule and the actual supplement. But if you're very, very low and the doctor's like, yeah, you're going to need more than food, then do it. But again, this will be another podcast too.
Yeah, it's
that just popping pills for supplements is not always the best course of action.
And they're saying, I just looked up too, that oysters are very high in zinc, and you've got red meat and chicken provide the majority of zinc in the American diet. But then you can also go to beans, nuts, and certain other types of seafoods.
Well, don't give it all up. They got to go read the article.
Well, they're going to read the article. I'm not reading your article. I'm just saying.
No, I know.
I'm highlighting.
You're
Don't
giving
worry.
away the
They're going to go read. They're going to go read your
man.
article. It's more. Your article has more info in it than just a food.
Yeah, it's got way more.
Don't worry. Everybody, please go to the article and then send him a comment so he knows that you've read the article.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you tell me. So, yes, that is my spiel on the prostate. My name is Christian Palmer, and I do approve this message.
And I do have a prostate.
Exactly. I have a prostate. I like it a lot, and I'm going to get checked when the time is right, and I recommend you do the same thing. Hey, we can go and do a buddy checkup, right?
We can go in a group.
2 birds with 1 stone, or should I say 2 people with 1 finger? I don't know how it goes.
Okay. Just change the glove. Just change the glove.
Hopefully.
But all right, so now we get to the ladies, and some men too. Christian's going to touch on it, but ladies, we all know we have to do our yearly mammogram, which I know I'm actually scheduled. I think I missed mine last year due to the pandemic. I think I sort of forgot to do it, but I need to schedule mine. But, this is something that's really important. I believe the age now is 40. It may even be a little bit younger for a woman to have her first mammogram. If you have a history of breast cancer, meaning if it's on your maternal side, that's really when it becomes an issue. Now, I have a history of breast cancer on my dad's side of the family. His 2 sisters had breast cancer, both survived it, had a little radiation, and it took care of it. But they still kind of, check me a little extra carefully when I go, just because it is there, even though it's more, like I said, on the maternal side. But, everyone, for the ladies listening, we've all had them. You walk in, they take an image of each side. They put you in the machine and really squish your breast down to like flat, really, really flat, like a pancake, so they can really see the breast tissue. Some women, myself included, have dense breast tissue. So usually I will also have a sonogram with it. So I'll have my mammogram first, then I'll go in the other room and they'll do a sonogram, because it just beats having to be called back because they say, you have dense breast tissue. We couldn't really see. We need you to come back so we can take a closer look. So I usually schedule everything all at once. My doctor gives me my prescription. I go and I boom, boom, both. I always tell them too, I want the radiologist to tell me if I'm clear before I leave, even though you get an official report from your doctor. But I have to tell you, I'll share this with you. I get I guess out of everything, even colonoscopy and everything I've had done, I get very nervous when I go for a mammogram because it's just one of those things. I mean, breast cancer is on the rise in women, and it's frightening. You don't want them to come in and say, well, we saw something or this or that. And I have had a biopsy. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a while, maybe 10 years, but they found a little lump, and I had to go back and they did a biopsy. I don't even know if I've told you this. I don't think I've ever told you this. I was very nervous, very upset, very scared. They went in, they did a biopsy. You got to wait for the results. I found out that it was nothing. And they put a little clamp around it. It almost looks like an industrial staple. You know how they look when you get a box and it's stapled? It looks like that. It's stainless steel. They put a little clamp around it so that every time you go for a mammogram, they can see if it's grown in size or not. So I definitely have that. It's in my right breast. But, it's just one of those things. Like, yeah, I mean, what if it was something and I never went for a mammogram and it just grew and grew until I discovered it myself on a self-breast exam, and then maybe it's too late or you have to go through a whole process that maybe you wouldn't have had to go through if you got it checked. Again, no one likes to have their breasts squeezed down to like a pancake. It's not fun. It's not painful, but it's definitely one of those things that you definitely want to do. I read a stat that said, according to the National Cancer Institute, breast cancer is the second most common cancer in women. Skin cancer is number 1. Breast cancer is number 2. And there's about 230,000 new cases each year. Now, that's a statistic. It could be higher than that now. I'm not really sure. But it's definitely something that we need to pay attention to. And I work mostly with women over 40, over 50 and beyond. And they always laugh at me and say, I know you're going to tell me not to drink alcohol, but there are studies shown that even one drink a week can be linked to breast cancer in women. And it just depends on you and your body and if the cells get turned on or not, or, somebody else may be able to drink a lot more and it doesn't affect them, but maybe, there's that one person that has one drink a week or whatever, and it just affects them differently. I don't drink. I just stopped a long time ago just because I was getting more into bodybuilding, so contest prep just didn't allow for it. And then once I stopped having a glass of wine every evening, I just never went back. So I just don't feel like there's any benefit to drinking. I'm not getting drunk. I'm not trying to get buzzed. So I feel like I'd rather protect my health that way. I'd rather protect my breast tissue, my gut lining, and all those things. So, but it's definitely important. Ladies out there, if you have breast implants, they'll ask you that before you come in. And they move you around a certain way to make sure they really get an image of your breast tissue versus they try to push the implant out of the way so they can see your breast tissue. It's not a big deal. It's not going to hurt your implant. It's not going to pop it. It's not going to do anything like that. So just rest assured. But always, if they don't ask you, make sure you tell them that you do have implants. But it's one of those things where you just go in, you don't wear deodorant, you don't put lotion on, you don't put anything under your armpits. You just go in bare bones so they can really get a really good look at you. And again, if you have dense breast tissue, definitely get that sonogram too, because it'll make a big difference. And that's really, it's pretty straightforward. And it's just something that we have to do as women. We really need to be aware, men and women, of our bodies. And
exactly.
Things that if something doesn't feel right, male or female, just get it checked. Don't blow it off. Then it becomes something bigger that it might not have to be.
Exactly. And to speak to the men, this is actually important for us as well. So male breast cancer is on the rise and fast. So the first thing is you can perform a self-breast exam. Yes, it sounds weird, but men, we do have breast tissue. And that's because when we are all fetuses, we start off as females. And then men, we get those chromosomes that turn us into men. And then we become as such. But that means we are also at risk of some of the same issues that women have in regards to breast cancer. So you can feel your pecs, right? And obviously the leaner you are, the easier it is. And if you feel any lumps or anything that's abnormal, the first course of action, go to your doctor, have them feel it, right? You don't have to set up a mammogram right away. In fact, your GP will generally take a look at it first and determine if you should even go. But there are plenty of men who find lumps in their chest. Typically, it's right around the nipple or somewhere nearby. And if you feel it on your own, just go get it checked right then. It's not something where, oh, it's not a big deal. You don't know that because that is already a mass growing, and that could be malignant or cancerous. So make sure that you get it checked out right away. And tell your friends. To be honest, again, this is something that a lot of us men don't think about, but it's important that you get these things done in a timely fashion. So next, we're going to go on to yearly physicals.
Yes.
Now, yearly physicals, here's another easy thing to get done, and a lot of people avoid it. I mean, geez, I have clients who I happen to mention it to them. They're like, oh, it's been like 6-8 years since I've had a yearly physical. Just get the thing done. It's simple. So when you go into the yearly physical.
Women too.
Exactly. Everybody. They can catch things before they turn into bigger issues. And they give you a blood test. Now, in a future podcast, we are going to go deep into blood tests because blood tests are important. Blood is everything, right? It tells you what's going on in your body. You can't escape it. It is the what's what on what's going on internally. So they're important. And they're like I said, the best way to view what's going on, self-exams are wise also. Mm-hmm. Now, what I mean by that is testicular exams. Again, breast exam, like I just mentioned. Testicles, they're an important thing. Mm-hmm. It's an organ. And you have to, it's part of your sex organs, and you need to make sure that they're healthy. Mm-hmm. So literally, feel your testicles. I'm telling you. I'm giving you permission.
Check the pipes, baby.
And feel them up. Feel them. And the good thing to do is do this. Make it something that you do like once a month. Mm-hmm. Feel around and just see if anything seems different than usual. A hard spot. Maybe a spot that's extra soft. It could be a little lump. It could be a change in the size of the testicle. I mean, there's many things it could be, but in general, some sort of irregularity. And doing it month to month will allow you to stay on top of it. And again, if you sense something, go to the doctor right away. It doesn't mean something's wrong, but you want to find out that nothing is wrong.
Definitely. And women need to go, we go to our OBGYNs every year for our checkups, mm-hmm. for our pipes. But, it's important to go to your GP and have a yearly physical, ladies, because he or she will listen to your heart, take your pulse, look in your eyes, look in your ears, stick out your tongue, say, all the simple mm-hmm. things are, if you're a parent, you take your kids for their well visit checkups every year. It's pretty much the same thing. And she's going to have you bend over and just do different things to make sure that everything's working right. Because sometimes you just don't realize something might be off that a doctor will pick up on. So it's very important to make sure that ladies also schedule your yearly exam.
Exactly. And, again, with the blood tests, at the very minimum, they should be giving you mm-hmm. a comprehensive metabolic panel. Like I said, we're going to go deeper into blood tests in a future podcast. And they look at things like your cholesterol, your liver values, your AST, ALT, your kidney values.
Right.
BUN, right? Blood urea nitrogen, your creatine, or creatinine, they'll call it. Electrolytes, red blood cell count. And these are things that you can detect things like your AST, ALT. You might have hepatitis. Right. If they're elevated, you might be fine. If you're very athletic, it's common that they're elevated. See, I'm starting to get off on that rant.
Maybe you took a couple Advil the night before because you had a headache, and that could raise your liver enzymes
and
also.
We should actually do this other podcast soon because it's a lot. It's a lot of good things to know and mm-hmm. a lot of things that people get scared about that they shouldn't be worried about at all. But your BUN, if you're an active person, your blood urea nitrogen and you're eating a lot of protein could be elevated, as mm-hmm. actually very commonly it is. In fact, mine is, and many people who lift heavy and
mine
intensely.
Mine as well.
Exactly. They also listen to your heart for things like murmurs and, again, irregularities. They listen to your breathing for lung abnormalities. That's an important thing also. And again, these things might seem trivial, but they're simple. It's inexpensive relative mm-hmm. to the cost of medical bills that you would pay if you end up positive for something.
And prescriptions.
Exactly. It's just plain smart, so stop putting it off.
Absolutely. And ladies, we all know that our lower half, we have to go to our OBGYN every year. If you've had children or not, we need to be checked for cervical cancer. Your cervix is the opening of your uterus. And as we've all had it done, lie on the table, put your feet in the stirrups, and your doctor takes a look on the inside. And it's always cool. Sometimes I wish I could see, because I'd love to be able to see inside and see what they see, because it'd be really interesting to see how our bodies look on the inside. But they'll go in and, she'll scrape little cells off your uterus, and, they'll test it to make sure that the cells are healthy. Now, I'm sure all the women listening to this, we've all had the call back. I've had a call back, and we found abnormal cells. And of course, all of a sudden, you've got yourself like dying of some kind of cancer. Like, when you start
Googling.
Yeah. Yep. I don't even think it was Googling, because I
think
we really didn't have it then. But so you freak out a little bit, and you go back. They want you to wait some time and go back. But what could cause that is having your cycle. Maybe you just got over your period. Maybe you're just starting your period. That can all cause abnormal cells. If all the cells haven't cleaned out when you have your cycle, sometimes they stick around and they scrape those and they're abnormal, and that's what happens. And that's what happened to me. But sometimes that's not the case. So it's one of those things, again, you can't see it, so you don't know. So you need to get your pap smear so that you can make sure that your female parts are healthy. So it's something, I think they said that you start at age 21. They want you to repeat it every 3 years. They just look for human papillomavirus, all the different things. But most of the time it'll be normal, but it's worth taking the time to go get checked. And then the doctor also will check your rectum. Same thing, almost as similar as a prostate. You and I talked about this, Christian. She'll put her finger up. She'll tell you to relax. Up she goes, up your rectum, to just feel around and make sure there's no abnormalities there either. So it's definitely worth having your pap smear yearly.
Exactly. And the final 2 normal exams you should be getting is one, an eye exam, and those
I hate.
Yeah, and I mean it's basic. A lot of people hate them because each time they go, the doctor tells, "Hey, your vision's worse than last time."
Or they dilate your pupils, and it's like, for hours your eyes just stay really big.
Yeah, and but
there's
again,
a reason.
They look for cataracts, glaucoma, things like that. Which again, you can have it taken care of. In general, with eye exams, most of the time people don't find any abnormalities except for maybe decline in vision quality. And I mean, again, they have surgeries for that. Whether or not it's good,
right?
We're not going to get into that this time. But and the other is dental. Now, dental is actually very important. It's a lot more important than people realize.
It's super important.
Yeah, because your mouth is the opening to your digestive tract, right? And whatever goes in the mouth ends up there. And of course, you've got your lymph nodes and, that kill some things, but you can end up having bacteria in your mouth that turns into something worse. So gingivitis is a common problem in people who don't take care of their oral health or don't have good oral health. And again, eating a lot of sugar, right, rots the teeth away.
Yes.
Not brushing your teeth and leaving food in the creases of your gums can turn into does cause bacteria.
If you have bad breath, chronic, that might be a sign that something's wrong too.
Exactly. So. Yes. And I've had plenty of friends in the past with it. And if you look
floss,
at your,
perhaps.
Yeah, and if you look at your gums and they're very, very red and tender, that can mean gum inflammation, gingivitis, right? Inflammation of the gingiva. Gingivitis, if untreated and severe enough, can turn into a blood disease. And a lot of people don't realize this. So all these things,
or it could be a mouth cancer of some kind too.
Yes,
which is uncommon, but it happens.
It happens, exactly. So
even if you're not a smoker,
So I've had plenty of friends who used to dip. And if any of you dip, right, you know that they put glass in the dip, so it'll cut your lip. It allows the tobacco to sink in. I haven't dipped. I've just had a lot of friends that have done it, which is why I know a lot about it. And that is known to cause cancer, right? And if you're a smoker, even if it's marijuana, right? Some of you smoke weed and you're like...
Cigars,
cigarettes, exactly. Oh, anything. I just smoke cigars, or I just smoke...
once a month. I have a cigar once a month.
Yeah, or I just smoke a little weed. It's better than cigarettes. Doesn't matter if it's better. It can still cause issues.
Absolutely.
All right, start getting...
And yellowing, too, of your teeth.
Exactly. So go get your mouth checked out. All it takes is a cleaning once a year, right? I would say every 6 months, which is generally what they schedule them for.
I go every 4 months and have my teeth cleaned because I just love having my teeth scraped.
It feels great, yeah.
It's a good
right
feeling.
After it feels great.
But, sometimes they'll offer to take x-rays because I want to see in between your teeth if you have cavities or anything going on there. I usually don't do x-rays because I feel like I would know if something's happening. You'd feel it. I just want to keep the radiation down. And I think sometimes doctors like to push it because it makes the bill go up. But normally I'll do x-rays once in a while, but it's definitely good to go get scraped because as we talked about before, plaque also, if you have a lot of plaque on your teeth, that could be a sign that you could have plaque in your arteries.
Exactly.
So these are just things you need to know about your body.
Yeah. And fun fact, the plaque in your mouth is the same plaque that builds up in your arteries. So that
crunchy,
hard and crusty, that's why they used to call it hardening of the arteries. It literally makes your arteries stiff. So make sure you take care of your teeth. Brush morning and night. Make sure you floss. Do use mouthwash because it does get into all those places that you can reach.
Absolutely.
And an electric toothbrush in general has been known to be better than a manual toothbrush. And that's it. So make sure you take care of yourself. Look after yourself, right?
Yes.
No one else is going to do it for you. Get these tests done on a regular basis. Get your blood done.
Yep.
Get your yearly physical. I mean, bi-yearly is even better, especially if you've got different health issues and diseases in your family.
Definitely. And just even one quick thing on the eye exam too. I have cataract history in my family. My dad just had both of his eyes done a couple of years ago, and his mother had cataracts. And anyways, these things are all genetic, hereditary. It could happen to you. I know I'm way overdue for an eye exam, so I've got to, now that we're talking about this stuff, I got to get mine scheduled.
Exactly. Take care of yourself. Make sure you tell your family to take care of themselves.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.